I am the chairman of the Concerned Citizens of Allegany County, and we have been very actively joining with all of the activist groups across the state in trying to present and actually being successful at presenting the science to Governor Cuomo and Commissioner Martens and anyone else that would listen and digest it. And we are very, very happy and rewarded that they have indeed what they said, and that is they have under science of hydrofracking, and the seeker process has worked, and it has identified the dangers of the process and the dangers associated with the extraction of hydrocarbons from the earth. And this is an example of what is a well thought out system working well, and that the science has and the truth truth will out, and it did, and they paid attention to it and understood it, and so we are very pleased at that. However, there is the next aspect of the battle is getting people to understand the impact that us accepting the waste of Marcellus drilling from Pennsylvania is having on New York State's environment. There are active landfills in New York State that are accepting drill cuttings, production fluids, and other associated wastes with hydrofrack, and they are a threat to, they are being mischaracterized as just industrial waste, and they're being taken to sanitary landfills, which are designed for containment of garbage. And because of that, and the deregulation of the classification of these wastes, the threat is there is a continuing threat to New York State's environment. Now, we have petitioned, we are challenging the treatment of that waste in our sewage treatment plants, in our landfills, and being transported on our roads to our facilities for disposal. There is a large quantity of it being disposed of in Pennsylvania. Also, a large quantity of the flowback fluid is going to underground injection in Ohio. But we're getting a bunch of the tailings, the cuttings from the drilling operation in Angelica and in Chemung County landfill, in Ontario County landfill, and a couple of others. So that's we have won a battle, but the war, it contains other skirmishes that have to happen. Well, they're getting immediate swelling of their wallets, and they're also taking quite a hit on their environment. Their motto is Pennsylvania, this is Potter County is God's country. And they're taking quite a hit to tourism. They're taking quite a hit to the status of their roads. The health impacts the jury is out on long term what the health impacts will be because of air quality, water quality. They have had numerous instances of spills and deliberate mistreatment of the waste and dumping of the waste. The jury is still out on at what cost are they reaping what they perceive is a economic benefit. The next step should be for New York to take the lead and head away from hydrocarbons as an energy source. And it's already begun, and the governor has taken some initiatives with the manufacturing of solar panels in Buffalo, and we produce a whopping amount of hydroelectric, which helps support the grid statewide. here in Western New York, and we have numerous instances of wind generation that are still being looked at for development, and wind farms are still being looked at. Solar farms are being looked at. Conservation should be looked at. And the next step should be hardening of the grid to protect the grid and the delivery system of electricity. If you want to look at nuclear, there are new forms of fuel rods, thorium, and that won't melt down. There are safer approaches to retrofitting reactors that should be taken to reduce the nuclear waste that is generated and burn more of it in the reactor instead of having to contain it forever. So technology and science is catching up to the task, and that's the next step, is to implement what technologies we have and realize that fossil fuels are the wrong direction. It's a politics of greed, and with no regard for the cost to the environment and future generations. And they propone that this is energy security, but much of the investment in oil and gas is foreign money, and they're anxious to ship it overseas. And so I don't see it, I don't get it, and I don't believe it, that this is economically driven. I think that the oil and gas cartel, which is worldwide and throws a lot of money at elected officials, and it is very powerful. And I think that what we have here is our elected officials who are blinded by the prospects of money in their constituents' pockets. And the polls have shown that the populace is more than 55% against hydrofracking. The polls have showed that repeatedly, but our elected officials are saying, no, we know what's best, and we're going to get you some jobs. And there's more deaths on these drilling rigs than there is on the previously most dangerous profession. And it's a dangerous business. It's polluting the environment, and it will continue to. And I am very, very happy and proud to be a part of New York State in this decision and in working towards taking us in a truly secure energy future. And that is definitely away from fossil fuels and toward sustainable, renewable sources. I was the manager of the Soil and Water Conservation District for 30 years, and I worked there for 35 years. I joined CCAC in 1989 when the state of New York was looking for a depository for low-level radioactive waste, and our entire county rose up to resist and to provide the science and to provide the civil disobedience and resistance to being cited and having another West Valley created in Allegany County. I fondly refer to that time as when I was born into the idea that you can make a difference, you should make a difference, and if you don't, bad things can happen to you. And so we, at that point, changed the course of history for the entire nation with our protests and with our Supreme Court victory. You can put me on the record. I'm telling you, this is the time for telling the truth. And I'll go to my grave knowing that I tried to do it.